this is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and today I'm here in Fort Collins and I'm visiting the Colorado Hemp Institute, CHI, which is also the Fat Pig Society. The Fat Pig Society is basically an industrial hemp CBD farm. So they're growing industrial hemp that has below 0.3 of the THC, so it can be sold legally throughout the 50 states. And that's what they're doing here. And they started 5 years ago, and the farmer has been actually growing and working on improving the strains of the industrial hemp with high CBD since about like 12 years ago actually now. So I think that's all I want to share here. I think I want to take you guys to the back where they actually are growing here on site, but then in addition they have an additional farm that I'll be taking you guys to. I think in this episode what I really want to do is show you guys actually the process they grow through to grow their hemp, as well as how they're growing in different mediums and running experiments to see which style of growing will do best. All right, so as you guys can see, we're here in the back of the farm, and they're basically growing in containers. So they have an all container garden or farm. Over on this side, they're growing their unicorn variety that I'll explain about in a minute. And then over on this side, they have basically all experimental different kinds of seedlings and plants that they're trying to work with, because they are still in progress of even making a better natural cross of the industrial hemp to even increase the CBD as well as the other cannabinoids. And so that's some of the research they got going on over on this side. And I saw students from the local university taking material back. Actually, they're doing a test. The lady was doing a test where they were beating the plant up, like simulating hail damage to a plant, and checking the cannabinoids and terpenes, vitamins and different nutrients to see if there's major fluctuation from hail damage. I would like to think that if literally shaken up enough, right, plant will see that as a stress, and then it'll actually change its expression, and may have higher levels or lower levels of different, compounds within the plant. So now I'm gonna give you guys a close-up of one of these hemp plants, right? CBD dominant, industrial hemp. You're like, John, that looks like marijuana. And yes, you're right, it does, but here's the thing. This plant does not put out the THC compound, or THCA that can get converted to the THC in its flower, to any large extent. To be federally legal and be considered industrial hemp, you have to have a 0.3% or below, which actually this tests out, on the last batch I've seen far below. It's like 0.06, so it's even like way less, right? I heard that if the local agriculture office discovers you're growing higher than 1% THC, then they basically make you burn the whole entire crop and get rid of it. So it's very important that the people that want to grow hemp have below that 1%. If the state does come out and test, you could get actually in trouble and actually literally lose your business. So one of their missions here at Fat Pig is to make a stable variety that can be spread out, that works well in this particular situation to produce lots of flower, and having a short plant. So these plants are pretty much full grown. They're not over like 3 feet tall in the containers that are behind me. And these are quite loaded up if you guys look. And they don't have a lot of leaves. I mean, that's another thing about this variety, cultivar. It doesn't have many leaves. Like, they have not trimmed leaves off this. The other thing they found is that this can be grown in pots or not. So the second location that I'll go to in a bit, they're basically growing in ground. But these plants look plenty healthy to me. And what they're doing is something special, right? They got the pots in the ground, but earlier in the season they had strong winds, right? And that would tip the plants over. So what they did is, and we'll go over here to show you guys, they basically have a double pot. So this lower pot here is literally staked down into the ground to hold it down. So even if I move this plant out and I try to move this pot, it's not gonna tip over. So, I have never seen this idea or concept before, but it's actually, a good idea. So when you think industrial hemp, what do you think about? You might think about paper or clothing, or maybe like the hemp seed oil you could buy at your local health food store, maybe the hemp seeds. But hemp is such a useful and important crop, in my opinion. I mean, as are any other plants on the planet, because the plants produce many different kinds of metabolites, and every different kind of plant, whether you got an apple, a basil, or a hemp plant, makes different kinds of these nutrients, we could call, that can be good and beneficial for us. You know, for example, everybody knows about the THC in the, you know, medicinal cannabis or marijuana plant. You know, and that's the component that gets you high. There's many other different cannabinoids, you know, THCA, THCV, CBDA, CBD, CBV, THCV. So, I mean, and this plant makes lots of other different nutrients as well, and normally everybody's focused on the cannabinoids, but what about the terpenes and different phytonutrients and chemicals and sterols and stanols, if they're in there, you know, that this plant can provide. So, I mean, you know, what they're focusing on here is growing really high quality medical grade industrial CBD that has high levels of the CBD in there. And they are focusing on that primarily. And whereas other, you know, cannabinoids in the test results that I'll show you guys are, you know, lower. I personally think it's a shame that, you know, this plant in its form now is still restricted as a hemp plant. You know, most states may not have laws reflecting the most recent farm bill that was signed, I think, late 2018, that makes hemp plant basically legal to grow as an agricultural commodity in the United States. Now, unfortunately, so that's legal federally, whereas on a state level, many states have not caught up with some of the recent regulations that have been put in place. And I think it should, because, you know, I'd really love to grow some of these plants non-psychoactive in my backyard if I could, but at present time I'm not. So I seek out and find good farms doing good work using organic growing methods that I'll be sharing with you guys, to share with you guys. And that's literally why I'm here. You know, some really good people making a good product that I saw how the whole process is made, and I could vouch and verify they actually do it and are growing some good quality crops. I guess with that, let's go ahead and get into the journey of how did this plant become in this, you know, I don't know, 7-gallon pot and become this big, right? Well, they didn't start out by seeds, because if you have cannabis or hemp seeds, you know, they may not breed true. And so the unicorn cultivar was basically a cross between cherry and some kind of other unknown hemp plant to make this, and they found that consistently they've been growing this now the last 3 years. So this can be, you know, recognized as industrial hemp instead of the, you know, more medicinal marijuana or cannabis. The other thing I want to mention is that I really want you guys, if you haven't learned about hemp before, learn about the industrial hemp and how, you know, even the Constitution was written on hemp paper, they're saying. And, you know, before a certain date, you know, Americans thrived on growing hemp as an industry, and so that was closed off for various reasons. But I think the documentary called The Emperor Wears No Clothes may be quite useful to watch. Anyways, let's go ahead, and what I want to do is take you guys through the process of how this plant came to be in a 7-gallon pot, and how they basically start these guys, and not from seed, because the hemp plant is not true seed. So, you know, if you have seeds that this plant makes and you replant them, you're not going to get the same exact variety. This is a good thing, and actually that's how this So now I want to share with you guys actually how they do their clones and how they take care of their clones and the mothers that are just growing literally year-round inside. And what they're growing in basically a refrigerated 18-wheeler trailer. And so it's already pre-insulated. They've added some, fans and circulation and a cooling system. And, and it keeps it cool year-round. It's very important to stabilize the temperature when growing the hemp plant, as is many others. And so let's take you inside, where they take cuttings of one plant, which don't even need to be that big, and then stick it in dirt, and then they can literally grow thousands of the same exact variety every year. So inside this trailer is where they have their depository of the genetics here, and they got everything labeled, and all this. And what they're doing is just in these little small 2-inch pots, right? They're basically keeping the plants alive, and then once they get tall enough, they'll basically snip off, a section about yay big, as long as it has 2 nodes, and the nodes are like the little points that come out of the trunk, literally. So they just take a little piece and they basically stick it in some important sterile potting soil, And actually they use no rooting hormone here because they are certified organic, and organic production does not allow rooting hormone. I suppose you could soak some willow branches and that'd probably be alright, because that would kind of get the same kind of effect. So once they grow up and get more mature, they keep it under the lighting, which actually is put in good light, and these are now in like the vegetative mode, where they're actually just growing the green growth, right, until they're into the flower mode. But that's when they start to set and make their little buds, which is literally what they're designed to do. So once they got these guys ready, and when it's springtime, the weather starts warming up, and it's the right temperature in the soil, they will take these guys out into the field and either pop them up in the pots that you guys saw, or to the main farm. And then they just basically wait, water them and wait, take care of them, and then they'll produce for them. So what I want to show you guys next is actually the fertilizers they use, because they are certified organic here. So they use special fertilizers that are also OMRI organic. Alright, now I'm going to show you guys actually the nutrition they use to feed the plants, and depending on the stage of the plant, if it's in the vegetative stage where it's just growing leaf until it gets more mature and they can start to go to flower, they may change the fertilizer profile that they're giving. So conveniently, all the fertilizers they use are on this little cart, so let's pull this out and share with you guys what it is. Alright, so now I want to show you guys the different organic fertilizers they use that are important for their crop's growth. Number one, we'll start on this side. They have blood meal, and then they have this stuff called BioLive All Natural Fertilizer by Down to Earth. Actually, I use this stuff myself. I like it that it has a diverse mixture of beneficial microorganisms. Another component that, in my opinion, organic agriculture should take into consideration, but there's no organic standard that says you have to add mycorrhiza or beneficial bacteria to your farm, right? It's an optional thing. So I'm glad that this farm is taking organic to the next level to grow higher quality, literally, medicine here. In addition, for their phosphate, they got the natural minimal phosphate fertilizer. I think it's like a back guano. And then, of course, they got my favorites, the azomite or the rock dust. This adds up to 70 different trace minerals into the soil in trace or natural amounts from this is actually a clay, but you can also get it from a volcanic type basalt rock as well. And these minerals are very important. Soil biology and soil and plant health and all this stuff has only determined that there's maybe 15 or 16 different minerals that the plant needs to survive and actually grow, and that's why they feed NPK, which is the 3 numbers on the fertilizer bag, usually in high amounts, without regard to the other nutrients that are, in my opinion, essential to grow healthy plants, and then in turn for us to get healthy food or medicine. And so that's why I really like the azomite there. And in addition, they have in the bag they have some gypsum, and I think that's pretty much it. This is the main fertilizer regimen they use. Many of these actually I use myself. I don't use too much back guano usually, or any kind of blood meal. All right, so aside from some of the nutrients that they use, it's very important to use the proper soil mix, especially when you're growing in containers. So they get this stuff. This is the Burger OM series. It's good for container gardening, and I'm sure they add other amendments to it before they plant those little transplants that you guys just saw. So now we're at the second location, which is where they have their outdoor grow in soil, not in the containers like you guys just saw. This property has about 6 acres of the industrial hemp plant planted out in their special unicorn genetics that literally just in like 2 days, today's Sunday, they're harvesting on Tuesday. All this stuff's gonna get cut down. So I'm glad that my trip, put me here when it did, so I could show you guys this. And what I wanna do in this part of the episode is show you guys what sets this farm apart from others that are growing the industrial hemp, including some of its practices, and also a really important tip on how hemp may be able to help home gardeners. All right, so next I want to show you guys some of the grow areas here on the farm where they actually grow that hemp. So the first shot I want to show you guys is actually they've got rows of hemp as an outside, basically living fence. And then if you look closely on the inside of the hemp, they actually have tomatoes and peppers, squash, pumpkins, some beets or chard growing inside. And I'm like, why did you put your hemp plants around your vegetable garden? And the answer I got was because deer will not eat it, and it'll basically make them go the other direction. I mean, evidently maybe they don't like the smell of of the industrial hemp. I love the smell myself. So like, wow, that was so valuable, could help so many of you guys if it is legal to grow industrial hemp, you know, or another cannabis variety near you. So another thing they're doing here is not only on the outside row, you guys can see they have basically beneficial plants, good for insectary plants that will attract beneficial insects, as well as help all the different pollinators, including the mason bees and the honeybees, which I see a few just flurrying around behind me. So I think that's definitely good. And so they grow it on the outside of this row, and then on the inside they also will grow many different flowers and you know, insectary flowers, as well as pollinator flowers for the pollinators, right? And you know, this is something that I think every farm should do personally, but unfortunately, you know, there's things when you are organic certified, like the farm here is, you know, you must do and you can't do, but they don't say what you should do. And so in my opinion, the should do would have beneficiary insectary plants, because that will help nature along, and you know, probably even your crop by planting beneficiary plants that attract some of the predators to bad bugs that might be attacking your crops. I think that's only a good thing. All right, so now before the sun goes down, I want to share with you guys actually a close-up on one of these industrial hemp plants. This is particularly the unicorn variety. Now you may notice a few things about this plant, right? I mean, I'm kneeling down and it's barely over my head. You know, this plant is actually maybe about 4.5 feet tall, but this plant is bred through natural, you know, breeding methods to basically be short and compact, because it's a lot easier to harvest and deal with a short plant than one that's up tall. The next point is that this does not have many leaves, and if this was going to my backyard, I'd be like, man, that's kind of a waste, because actually I like to eat the hemp or even the cannabis leaves myself. And let's see, so, and these has not many leaves, and it has small leaves to boot, you know? So I find that quite interesting. Let's go ahead and try to harvest you guys a knife leaf to show you. All right, so here is the industrial hemp leaf. I think the first time I'm eating fresh leaf on camera for you guys, because most of the time I see the psychoactive version. Wow. So definitely, these are a lot more mild flavor, and I don't get as much like punch of essential oils and flavors in my mouth compared to like a regular cannabis that I'm used to. Next, I want to go ahead and try a little bud here. So we're going to go down to a lower branch, grab a little popcorn bud off fresh. And this variety is specifically bred to be under 0.3% THC content. So that makes this an industrial hemp eating CBD dominant buds, which these are maybe in the 30-to-1 ratio, 30 CBD to 1 part THC. And you know, it is said that maybe you need 1 part THC to like maybe 10, if it's, you know, or less, then you're probably going to get, you know, the psychoactive effects that for me personally are undesired, although I want all the other effects this plant may be able to provide. I mean, I put some of the cream on earlier, and you know, my neck tension went down and my headache. So, you know, I think that's definitely a good thing. Is this the thing that helped, or is it something else? I don't know. But here's the thing, I don't believe this can hurt. And I mean, this is nature's God's medicine really here, you know, put on the planet for us to use. Once again, this is just like eating basil flowers out of your garden. It's gonna have a, you know, basil, if you eat basil leaves, it has that basil flavor. But if you eat basil flowers, which are edible, it's a lot more stronger, and you get all the potent, like, essential oils out of it. And that's basically what this is. This is basically just like concentrated leaves, right? And as you guys can see, I mean, this plant is loaded, and I know some of you guys that are standard cannabis growers are thinking, man, what a waste, that's all CBD, there's no THC in there. Well, there's very little, but to me, the benefit of this plant is actually not having the THC, because I personally don't want the psychoactive effects. Plus also, you know, for you guys that are farmers out there watching this or thinking about starting in some kind of new business, you know, this one, according to the farming bill that just passed, you know, late 2018, you know, makes hemp basically a legal product federally to grow, although states still do regulate it. So you have to check with your state specifically. But federally it's legal, so there'll be no feds that'll come down and swarm you for growing industrial hemp. It is such a valuable plant, and besides how they're using it here, mostly as medicine and edible food purposes, you know, the hemp can be used for making cordage, can be used for insulation, can be used for making paper, can be used for making clothes. You know, you could eat the leaf, you could juice the leaf, you could eat the buds fresh. Oh, I haven't eaten that yet. You could eat them fresh, you could dry them out, you can then extract these like they do here on the farm to get an extract out of it and then sell that concentrated extract to people. I mean, this is one of the, oh, and you could harvest it for hemp seeds. This is not the one that makes the hemp seeds because this is making the flower buds. So yeah, so this just, okay, so anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and eat that bud. And no, I'm not high, because I don't get high in this video while filming. I'm just naturally happy because I eat a lot of green juices and green foods and fruits and vegetables. All right, eating the bud. Wow. To me, that's quite enjoyable. I've tasted high-end, like, cannabis buds, and it burned my mouth a lot more. I could really tell this is like, you know, a real mellow version. I don't get a lot of that like essential oils or terpenes or taste sensations that kind of like burn and numb and add like an explosion to your mouth as I do with like, you know, normal other bud varieties. Because this is like the first, you know, industrial hemp bud that I've also ever eaten in my life fresh. I did get some actually dried that I did order from Oregon. And they were definitely stronger tasting than this, but once again, these are fresh, and once you concentrate and remove the water content, things will, you know, get a little bit more concentrated. So I'll be sure in a little bit to try a concentrated or dried bud in a little bit. What you guys are looking at now is basically another area where they're growing more of that industrial hemp, and they like to run many different experiments on the farm. You know, as you guys saw, they have all those experimental crops that they're not even for sale, just to kind of like learn more about the plant itself. But here, you know, they're experimenting also with different kinds of growing styles, growing methods, right? Unfortunately, this year, this is not a representation of this growing method because they didn't get these plants in until August due to technical issues and not getting the right farming equipment and all this stuff. So this is a no-till with using a crimper with cover crops, right? But planted late, right? So there's always things that come up in farming and gardening. And so the plants aren't that large, but they still look quite productive to me. Let's go ahead and give you guys just a close-up. So here's one of the unicorn plants that they grew. And once again, they basically planted late using all their same amendments. And you guys can see from the ground, which is right here to right here, I mean, that's like no more than a 2-foot plant. But look, man, I mean, this is to me is amazing. They have not plucked any leaves. This plant just makes a little leaf, but look at the bud. This is like a solid bud, like all the way down. There's like a separate one here. But these guys are pretty huge. I mean, when you get to the bottom, they get a bit smaller. But I mean, even planted late under some of the worst conditions, this plant still continues to grow and produce fairly well. I mean, if they planted it earlier, of course, it'd make more and maybe look like some of the ones you saw around the vegetable garden. So in the middle of this farm, literally they have a hoop house with the sides off because it's the summertime now. But they likely use this to start some of their clones and grow the clones out before transplanting in the field. It looks like they overgrew their clones and have too many. And so a lot of them didn't get planted, but they're even grown into 2-inch pots. So I'm gonna talk to you guys and show you guys that right now. So besides growing the industrial hemp, the farmer has actually 2 hobbies that he used to be involved with. Is number 1, growing dahlias, which you guys can see some of these really cool dahlias right behind me. And like he has just all different varieties. I see a bee on one of them. And in addition, he also grows, you know, strawberries and a special variety of strawberry. So, you know, the farmer had often looked at like, how can a farmer on, you know, a relatively small piece of land actually make a living? What crop could he grow? He came up with, you know, special varieties of dahlias and also the strawberries. But he wants to take it to the next level. So it's the next level crop that people could grow that still is a wide open field in terms of, you know, selective breeding to get the right strain to do what you want to do, and that is also legal to sell. And so he feels once he gets this all, you know, the work done and guaranteed to be below 0.3, then, and he makes it a lot less, you know, to buy from an end user, so that reduces the cost along the whole supply chain. Then farmers could make enough money. Big businesses won't basically invest in growing hemp because it's just not profitable for them. And so I think this is definitely a win-win-win for everybody. I do hope that states speed up their personal state regulation, although it is, you know, legally, federally state by state. Some may still heavily regulate or more minimally regulate, depending on the state. So now I'm still here in the hoop house with the sun in my face, but I'm at some more of the industrial hemp plants. To me, these look like really healthy, even healthier than the ones surrounding the vegetable garden. Like the buds are like nice and tight, and like this is more perfumey. I mean, without even being too close, I could smell it. And then when I come up closer, it's like, wow, that smells amazing. I'm not sure what variety this is. I think it might be the same thing. But I want to show you guys this, right? You guys can see how big these plants are, how loaded up they are with buds. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. Oh my gosh, it has like a nice, really floral, not like hardcore, like, ew, that's strong. It has actually almost, it reminds me of like being in Hawaii and cannabis at the same time. Like just nice, airy, tropical, floral, but light and mellow, right? So here's the thing, right? These plants right here, some of this guy is like maybe almost 2.5 feet tall, is being grown in these little pots here. Now this plant didn't root into the ground or through the weed fabric. You can see the roots popping out, so it's really not that big, but still, nonetheless, I mean, for a 2-foot long plant, it's definitely got some harvestable material on there. But these guys next to it, basically I can't pull out. They're also in that same 2-inch pot, but they're going into the ground, right? So here's the thing. Cannabis, you know, the one that gets you high, is called weed. Why is it called weed? Because it's not, you know, not because it's cannabis, it's because, or it gets you high, it's because this plant in its, you know, high THC version, or not, or CBD dominant version like this, you know, are a weed. They're both weeds and they grow as weeds. So these guys are very easy to manage. They don't get a lot of whole pest pressures. You know, these plants look totally amazing. I know they haven't really done anything to them. You know, I know that they do get sometimes some mites that may affect the crop. But yeah, so these guys are weeds, easiest thing to grow. If you want to learn more about, you know, 10 reasons why you should grow cannabis, check the link down below to a video I made with the urban farmer himself, Curtis Stone, earlier this year. All right, so here's yet another area, and they have maybe like 4 or 5 more areas like this of about this size, and I think all these were basically just tilled regular style, you know, so, and they just apply their nutrients, and then they, you know, water, they overhead water, and they come back and harvest. I mean, this is a really easy, resilient crop to grow with significantly less pest pressures than, you know, many other farmed fruits and vegetables. All right, so it's apparent to me that these guys need to get harvested, right? They'll be literally harvested in 2 days. Well, they'll basically be taking off the whole plant and, you know, and processing it to get off the, you know, the bud, the flower, and then they'll be then turning it into the products, the concentrates that they make. So what I want to do next is actually take you guys through how dried product is put through the process to make a liquid concentrate. So now I want to show you guys actually, once the product is finished, like they're going to be harvesting in a few days, the fresh product is then dried, and then they basically store it like this in a 5-gallon bucket with the sealable lid there with a gasket. And look at this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is not the kind of buds that will get you high. This is the industrial hemp buds, the product of the plants that you guys saw behind me and in this episode. And all it may look like a big fatty you could smoke. Well, you could smoke this, but you would not get high, but you would get the beneficial effects from the CBD. Or if you ate this, as I did earlier, you'll also get the benefits. And keep in mind, you know, a dried product is always more strong than a fresh product that has more water content. So they sell this to smoke, they sell this different methods, but what they do with most of this product is actually they're just gonna go into an extraction process so they could basically take this and even like reduce the volume down, but more importantly, concentrate the CBDs that everybody seems to want. Now, my personal opinion is that, you know, there are nutrients in the bud that are not being extracted when they do the extraction, because the extraction is an alcohol-based extraction. So that pulls some nutrients out, but not others. So, you know, I think for the best balance, there should be all different kinds of extraction methods, you know, an alcohol-based extraction, maybe a water extraction, and maybe like, you know, a CO2 extraction, for example, and then trying to combine the best of both, all the worlds if you want to get an extract or a concentrate. But, you know, other than that, I would personally just rather people have access to the leaves of the plant that can be juiced, or the buds that will not get you high if they're the industrial hemp. So now I'm going to take you guys into the processing shed where the buds are processed and basically extracted and concentrated. Oops, wait a second, actually. That's the one part of this episode that unfortunately I cannot film for you guys because it's some proprietary processing and information or something they have in there, and they didn't want any pictures or video. But I could honestly tell you that I have been through there and basically saw their layout and how they process. And yes, they process here. They actually make the stuff here, and they use actually organic alcohol that I verify because I can see the label right here. It's certified organic, 190 proof neutral cane spirits that they use to basically do an alcohol extraction of the different cannabinoids, from the industrial hemp plant. Now, I do want to say that they're using an alcohol extraction under heat, so that does, decarboxylate the CBDA to the CBD, so they have like mostly a CBD dominant product with small tracer amounts of other cannabinoids. And I'll show you guys the samples in a little bit when I show you guys their finished product that they make with their extract. So then they basically make a really thick extract, and then now at every stage of their production, when they harvest, they got to test the CBD THC content, so they get to test it then, and then they do their extraction, and then they do another test to see what they got in their extraction, and then once it is made into a final product, then they do another test to just make sure that everything is on the level. This is very important for the government to let them know that you're not making a product with that, banned federally THC that may be legal in a state near you. So what I'd like to do next for you guys is actually show you guys all the different products that they make here on the farm. So I'm going to share with you guys the Fat Pig products that they make, that their extract that you'll see in a minute is also used to make other different products, whether that's private labeled or whether people take the extract and then cook it into dog treats or something like that. So what comes out of the extraction process that I could not show you is basically they put the whole hemp buds in with that organic alcohol, goes through a process, and then they basically come out with this stuff. And this does not leave the farm until it is processed, and the reason for that is because that's a lot of money in this 32-ounce mason jar. I mean, I thought I stored all my juices, but this is probably the most expensive liquid you guys could see that you could ever have, because this is like $5,000 for this little jar here. So that's totally insane. So I'm going to put this down and make sure I don't break it. This does not leave the farm. It's way too valuable and very highly concentrated. And I do want to say at this point that they get testing, once it is extracted. They do basically a CBD or cannabinoid profile testing. And it shows, and if you're looking at one of these, test results, you guys want to look at the far result. That's milligrams per gram, because everything is by milligrams per gram. And how much is the cost per milligram? So that's one of the things the Fat Pig Society is trying to work on, is bring the cost of CBD lower, right? To squeeze out, to make it, number one, affordable for people, and number two, make the profit so low that big giant mega corporations have no interest in this, because there's no money in it, and there's certainly other things that they could get more money out of if they got into business. But yeah, so this is 40.9 milligrams per gram, and this is actually a concentrate that they were testing, and that's of the CBD. And you may be familiar with THC, and that's the one that gets you high. And then there's a CBD, which is also very popular, but there's other cannabinoids as well that they're testing for. They got like the CBA, CBC, the H8 THC or Delta B tetracannabinol. They have the CBNA, the CBN, the CBGA, the CBG. So I mean, basically, there's just lots of different, potential chemicals in here that may have a different effects on the body. Up till now, I think only they've researched primarily the THC and the CBD. And so who knows what really these other ones do. And I believe in a whole food plant-based diet where, I'm eating whole foods, because I believe in every different part of the plant, there's different nutrients. And when you start extracting certain ways, you may not get some of these other ones. So, that's why I like to consume the material plant fresh or dried. So they find by, once again, making that extract and then diluting it down, they could, meet the federal requirement of being under 0.3 of the THC. And according to this test that I'm looking at, it says the THC is 0.14. So it needs to be below 0.6. So that's significantly lower. And then the CBD percentage is 4.09. But once again, we want to look at the results, milligrams per gram. So they had a Delta 9 THC 1.4, then they had the CBD 40.9, and they had the CBG at 1.1, and also the CBV at 2.3, and the CBC at 2.1. So that's kind of cool. There's like a, a wider spectrum of the cannabinoids in the product that they produce here with their specific strain that they're using. So now I'm going to share with you guys how they take this basically raw extract, and then they dilute it down, and this is what is normally sold, and actually it's in some of the packaging behind me here. And this one is 250 milligrams per ounce of the CBD, and this one is like 2,000 milligrams per ounce. It's way more concentrated. So once it's in this stage, it can then leave the farm and be processed into different products. And then if you dilute it further, then you get the 125 milligrams per ounce. So I want to show you guys the difference in the colors. It's like kind of like kind of looks like an olive oil. This is like a filtered olive oil right on this side, and this side is more thick and rich, and that's because this is like literally double the milligrams per 1 ounce of the CBD, which is the main cannabinoid they are after. So once they got the extracts, then they could just package them up, and they have this is their main packaging. And another reason why I really want to cover this farm is because it says free hemp, and that's just the brand, I guess, free hemp that they're saying on there. And why is it free hemp? Because this could be free, and that's amazing. That's an amazing business model they have. They literally give back to society, make this medicine and plants available to people that may not otherwise be able to afford it if they have a legitimate need, like a health concern or crisis. They also allow you to volunteer. So it says right on the label, it says get it free, right? This is not a joke. Help us on the farm. So if you volunteer, like right now, they're going to start harvest in like literally 2 days. They have lots of volunteers that come in that donate their time, and then they get product in return. I mean, if I lived in this area, I would definitely be doing that, because this little jar here I think sells for like $80. So that could add up pretty quick. And then it says help us distribute it. So hey, if you guys want to earn some of this stuff free, you can basically buy it in bulk, buy 12 packages, 12 pieces at a time, and then sell it near you and mark it up. If you use their label, they will not allow you to mark it up more than 25%. But here's the thing. The cool thing is you could literally start your own CBD company, because you guys watch this video, you have the connection to getting organic CBD concentrate right here. And this one is actually the 1,000 milligrams, and this one in this side is 1,500 milligrams, per ounce. So this is 4 ounces total. And then you could just slap your label on it and then sell it for whatever price you get. The average markup or price per milligram at retail level for this stuff could be like 15 cents or 15 cents per milligram, or more or less, right? When they sell this, you have to contact them for the bulk pricing. I'm not going to mention this in the video, but it is a good keystone product, if you guys know that term, all right? So that's let's go ahead and continue reading the label. So so you could help them distribute it and then basically get it free yourself. And then also it says help if you can't afford it, right? And so what does that mean? Help if you can't afford it. They're just willing to give this to you for free, and they donate a percentage of their overall harvest just to people to help them out, because they want to make a difference in the world. Not only by trying to bring the price per milligram of the CBD down to make it, not good for industrial farmers, but good for, people that want to have a small farm. They could grow an acre of hemp, and I think they could make like 20 grand an acre, right? If you do it properly, you harvest right, and then you could sell it at this low price. And then guess what? You're undercutting all the other people that may or may not have real stuff. Like, this is the only farm I've ever seen, and there's some shady stuff, in my opinion, going on in the CBD world, right? They have this like white crystalline, isolate that's only CBD, and you're missing the different cannabinoids as well as other nutrients that may be in the extract when it is alcohol extracted. So I always encourage you guys to get, a real product that's not made with an isolate, but more importantly, find a company you could trust. Like, ask them. Like I contacted them, and within 2 days I was here. touring the farm, showing you guys what it is. Ask the farm you could come and visit, right? If they're like all secretive, oh no, no, no. Like maybe they're not really even growing this stuff, man. They should be proud of what they grow. I mean, outside the farm here, they have their, their hemp license, probably because they have to be licensed by the state to grow, and they had it right there in plain sight. So, it's just being like that. They showed me their whole process. I couldn't film it, unfortunately, for you guys because they don't want the trade secrets getting out. But I mean, they really do this here, and they use organic ingredients. They're certified, and actually that alone is being rare. There's not a whole lot of CBD hemp companies that are organic certified that I'm aware of. Maybe they're coming online soon. And I think that's a very important criteria, because in my opinion and based on, data I've seen when you use organic methods, you're going to get higher levels of different nutrients, whether they're the terpenes, cannabinoids, vitamins, minerals, or other nutrients in any kind of plant, whether that's hemp or not. And so let's go over some of the products they make here. So this is the standard one. I know it's in a jar, and people think, oh, they always think tincture. In my opinion, I think in tinctures you may be getting ripped off, and this is like, you get a lot of quantity in here. This is 4 ounces, and this is basically like a thick mixture in here. Let me go ahead and maybe open this up for you guys. And so this is the same brand, the same product, but they just have a different label because they sell it. And this is what it looks like on the inside. Basically, it's like a solid oil, and it's coconut oil. So if it's at room temperature, it's gonna be solid, and if it's hotter out, then it's gonna be liquid. And then you just basically teaspoon it out or put the right appropriate amount for you based on the dosage you want to consume. All right, so this product, as you guys just saw, is basically the organic coconut oil infused with the CBD. And then you got, once again, the milligram potency on the bottom. This one happens to be 1,500 milligrams. And so if you doll it out by little teaspoons, it's approximately 42 milligrams per teaspoon. And that might be a dosage for somebody. I've seen different products. Sometimes they recommend a 10 milligram dropper or a 15 milligram dropper. So you need to kind of figure that out yourself. I'll tell you that I sometimes take, I like to take like 30 or 40. So this would be like a perfect dosage for me, just to spoon it out. And the best thing to do is take a little bit and put it under your tongue to let it absorb, and then just end up swallowing it, right? And that way you're going to get the best absorption of the CBD, which is basically cannabinoids. And we have cannabinoids receptors in our body, and I don't think they're getting filled as much as they should, because this is a product that only until recently could you be able to access. And there's many different healing testimonials with people from tremors and all these things going away to all kinds of stuff, man. I've heard people like that have pains and diabetic retinopathy and like all these crazy things, like just get healed up when you add the right nutrients, that are in the hemp. It may or may not work for you, but I think it's worth a shot. This is a naturally made product. So anyways, aside from just the coconut oil infused with the CBD that's used for edible purposes, right, that then, they make some of these oils out of that have a different kind of carrier oil, so it's like more thin. So like this is good for pets. Yes, you can give CBD to your pet. I do give CBD to my pet on a regular basis for his well-being. It will not get your pet high, so don't worry. And then even more so, you can feed this stuff to your horses. That's so cool. They got these horse cookies in here. It's oats and molasses. And it says CBD is 100% non-psychoactive healing compound found in hemp plants. And 10 treats are in the package, and it's 10 milligrams CBD per treat, for the animals. They also have ones that are 4 milligrams for like little dogs, and 4 milligrams for the dogs, and 10 milligrams for the horse. In addition, they even basically make a coffee. So if you want to drink coffee, get your CBD also. They basically infuse coffee with the CBD. It's totally amazing. And once again, here's some organic dog treats. Oh, and then they even have like peanut butter. This peanut butter is infused with the CBD. This is meant for pets, guys. All right. And then let's see what else. Oh, then they got some other cool stuff here. So aside from being able to eat the CBD to get the health benefits, we also can absorb nutrients through our skin. That's probably like much less absorbed than maybe eating it, in my opinion. But nonetheless, you can get benefits from that. So they actually have a facial oil, or a CBD hemp face oil that you could put on, And one of the things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start using some of this product in my jojoba oil and basically kind of make my own oil to have the CBD when I just rub my jojoba oil on pretty much every day. And then they also have basically a one for your beards. So if you got beards, you could get a CBD hemp beard oil. And then if they just came out with these guys, this is like probably the best chapstick. Like the ingredients are super clean, and it has, I think it's 12 milligrams or something of CBD in this whole little package. So you could basically microdose by putting on your lips. And then if you want to get crazy about CBD, you guys get these bath balls that basically fizz in your tub, right? And then you could just soak in CBD. So like, man, they get all kind of crazy and creative with these products. Of course, the standby product, the next bestseller, is just this body cream that you could open up and then try. It's a nice cream, and once again, this is a really nice product. Like some of the CBD products, it's great that there's CBD in there, but they use like all different kinds of chemicals and things you don't want to put on your body. And so one of the mottos here is that if the owners here, the farmers here, if they can't eat it, they wouldn't put it on their body either. So all the ingredients pretty much are edible. And this is another very clean product that they're making here on site that I believe is also available for private label. So I mean, you could literally have a whole host of different hemp products if you want to try to start a business and help them sell more and help them literally free hemp. Aside from the product donations they give to people that are in need, that have a medical need, right? They also donate 10% of some of the income to help with education, also helping change the laws and whatnot, and advocacy. So I think that's totally amazing. I think I pretty much went over everything here. What I want to do at the end is basically get one of the workers, because this is a worker-owned cooperative, and talk to you guys and answer some questions you may have about the CBD as well as the Fat Pig Society. So now I have the pleasure of introducing to you guys Eugenia from the Fat Pig Society. She's a founding member and literally was there getting this started many years ago. And so today we're going to ask her some questions about the Fat Pig Society, learn more about why they specifically grow hemp, learn about their social cause and social mission and that what they're trying to figure out with that. Also, why they keep their stuff away for free sometimes, which I share with you guys. I mean, that to me blows my mind. That's just a totally different business model when people are trying to like make as much money. And I mean, I think if every hemp company in the world worked like this company, that's amazing, right? Oh my God, we would have such a different world. Think if everything you bought, kind of like the last episode, was on a donation basis or as needed basis, and people are there just to help one another. I mean, I think we've really gotten away from that. So that's why I really want to come to this farm among all the other hemp farms that are out there to share their specific story. So Eugenia, why Fat Pig Farm? Like, why did you start growing the hemp?
Well, it became really evident when you look at the typical farm in the United States that the average farmer is 68 years old. They're going to retire. There's a saying that the only time a farmer is rich is when they're dead because they get to sell their real estate. And so what we wanted to do is find a crop where organic farmers would make more money and be able to have a legacy plan where their kids would come back and want to work there. And how could that happen if the average small farm made between $100,000 to $150,000 more a year? Then people would want to be farmers. Nobody wants to be a slave, So really, the first we looked at strawberries, French strawberries, and dahlias, which had high prices, but having 10,000 plants of strawberries and 10,000 dahlias, that only made enough money for like 2 people. You couldn't even have children with that's a lot of plants. So when we looked at hemp and found the CBD, we realized this could be a crop that could change the family farm, particularly organic farms, which is our focus.
Right, yeah, I mean, hemp is easier to grow than many other crops because it's a weed. It grows as a weed, like you don't have to even disturb it. It grows just being there, just getting rained on. So that's totally amazing in itself. So, how is this project going to help farmers, right? I know right now you're selling products to keep this going, to keep your research going, but how is this really going to help farmers?
So what we see is that right now, we're called the Fat Pig Society because it was a proof of concept. So when we got here and we had a great chemo bar of high CBD, low THC hemp, the farmers didn't really believe us, and they wanted to actually, okay, who are you? Where did you come from? What do you have? So we decided to grow that variety and become fully integrated by extracting the CBD and also creating a finished product. Once we were able to do that, we were able to demonstrate that with 2 to 3 acres, planting 2,500 plants an acre, a farmer could easily make over $30,000 or $40,000 at the current price. That price, what you can get for soybeans or wheat is a lot less. So really the price of CBD is highly inflated right now. I do think that as the price gets more normalized, it will become a farm product. And when you look at our growth in our company, we've had tons of obstacles because of the stigma of marijuana versus hemp. A lot of people are like, no, hemp is just marijuana, you're just calling it something different. But in fact, that definition of marijuana was invented in 1936 to prohibit the growth of hemp, which the majority, 70% of it, was for grain, for food, for biofuel, for clothing, for sails, for rope. And so really the aspect that is affects our mind, actually the THC that you spoke of, was not very prevalent in 1936. Many of the plants had very little. Now the prohibition of hemp created an illegal market, and that illegal market is what's driven the genetics of hemp. So what you see is if instead of it being a farm product like a russet potato, it's something that's illegal, then you have people in their basement trying to grow it, and really the research hasn't been done on how to best grow it and what are the best genetics, and that has to be done now. So really the prohibition of hemp made us step back 250 years in terms of usage. So it's just in the last 10 years that there's been more and more research proving what we already knew. I mean, this plant co-evolved with humans. We've seen it 100,000 years ago being used by people.
So you talked about the hemp being different than the marijuana. So how is it different, and how does it affect somebody differently?
Well, the difference is the effects on the body. So as you mentioned, there is an endocannabinoid system that requires cannabinoids. So if you were to look at it as a computer, there's the hardware, which would be the screen and the keyboard, and then you have the software, which is that which connects all the information and makes it an operational system. So the endocannabinoid system works a lot like the software of a computer, where if your computer's getting really slow, you have a bunch of windows open. If you reboot the computer, what you're doing is you're all the connections that you have, it's like you're closing them down and starting them up again. The endocannabinoid system is the system of well-being. It actually allows the metabolism, respiration, the endocrine system to all communicate with each other. It has a biofeedback system that allows all the different chemical and enzymatic things that are happening in your body to be able to communicate. And so your level of wellness, your immune system, your ability to have more resistance, to have less inflammation are increased. And so it really is a magnificent system that has been denied the endocannabinoids for 80 years. So who knows? Maybe the level of disease that we have could be attributed to the fact that we're not surrounded by hemp. Things we wear, things, what we eat, what we put on our face, all those things can be made from hemp.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I try to include as many different nutrients into my body as I can, whether it's from a basil plant, a hemp plant. There's different nutrients in tomatoes. If you don't eat tomatoes, you're not probably going to get a lot of different lycopene, and there's different nutrients in every plant. So I encourage you guys, as much as we're talking about hemp in this episode. Many other plant foods have such amazing benefits because they're all basically gifts from God, gifts from nature, with different nutrients that have amazing different effects on your body. I mean, some of the one of the workers here at the farm is into herbalism, and I grow many different medicinal herbs, not hemp or cannabis, but other kinds that have been used around the world traditionally in societies like hemp has in much of human history. So I think the next question is, if you're growing something that could be, taken and will have an effect on the body, this, in my opinion, is a medicine. And why is it important to have a medicine organic, and why are you one of the first organic certified hemp farms in the country?
Well, hemp is a bioremediator, and what that means is that because it's a weed, in the succession of plants, it's considered what's called a pioneering species. When the soil is not particularly fertile and it's hard and there's compacted, the weeds have deep penetrating roots that break up the soil, allow water and aeration and little fungi and nematodes to be in there. So it is a weed, and it has the ability to restore soil as well as to recover anything that's in the soil becomes part of that plant. It has the ability to pull up anything, heavy metals, pesticides, toxins. So given that the plant has that ability, you do not want to be growing it in soil that could have contaminants, because then it becomes part of the plant, thus part of the oil, thus part of the medicine. So this is kind of a mute distinction in the world of medicine, where you have pharmaceutical companies that will give you a pill that's 2% active and the other 98% are binders and fillers that are usually petroleum based. But from the background that I come from of natural health, what we're looking at is using the substances that, like you said, God gave us, are part of our evolution, and using the whole plant. I mean, you look at the Ayurvedic medicinal model, they're using the root, they're using the bark, they're using the leaves, they're using the berries, they're using the fruits, they're using everything, because each plant has very, very powerful healing capacity. So it's very important to grow in clean soil so that the product is clean. Now, when you look at the delivery system, you talked about eating it, putting it on the skin, or even smoking it like a flower. Imagine, so if you're eating something with a toxin in it, it goes through your digestive system, and some of that toxin may be pulled out by your own digestion, by your intestines, and you might be able to excrete it. But if you smoke it, it's going straight into the lungs and right into the bloodstream. So it compounds the toxin or whatever's bad for you. So it really is very, very important that we go organic. And we thought our goal is to empower farmers and to have them make more money, and we want to help people's health. So we didn't want to mix a miraculous plant with any type of pesticide or fungicide or soil that's not organic.
Yeah, I think the pesticide, is really important to me. I know in a day when, growing marijuana in some states, it's still illegal. They just use whatever they can because they're selling that crop for high dollar value, and they don't want to lose a crop. And if they have to use some, non-approved even spray that's not even supposed to be used on food, for their spider mites, and then that's basically in the product that you are ending up smoking, that's definitely no good. So I would highly encourage you guys, if you guys are going to consume or even put on your skin any cannabis, hemp, or even other food product, try to always get organic whenever you can if you're able to find it. Of course, even better than organic, in my opinion, is grow it yourself, because then you know exactly, what went on into the soil and what you sprayed on it or didn't. And, so I think really having a control and having a transparency, like here at the farm that I shared with you guys today, and how they do it. So when people hear the word organic, I think they think, oh man, that's gonna be expensive. But how are you able to produce like literally one of the least expensive products on the market, have some of the highest quality, and still have it organic?
That's a great question, because what you're pointing to is a very different economic model. We are a cooperative, as you mentioned, and although that's not a very common word in the business world in the United States, there are over 2,500 cooperatives in the United States and about 30,000 worldwide. And what that means is that our business is organized around a model of cooperation and equal ownership. What that means is that each member has one vote, and depending on how much work you've put in and what your seniority is, that's how much you get paid. Now, a worker cooperative is different than, for example, a producers cooperative, which is what we're more familiar with. And that is where you have a bunch of producers like Sunkist who grow oranges, and then they come together and vertically integrate. So they have the extraction and the bottling, and then, or like Horizon Milk. Then you have like a buyer's cooperative like REI or the food co-ops. And these are, you go there, you buy, and then at the end of the year they give you a dividend if there was earnings, because you are helping that particular store exist through going there and buying it. So the cooperative model in our workers cooperative, we create our own mission. So if I was a corporation, the mission of the fiduciary responsibility of a corporation is to make money for its stockholders. So the man that came out in the pharmaceutical company last week and said, I am not in business to heal people or for my customers, I'm in business for my shareholders. Okay, so the problem with the way that it is now is that the profit is the number one goal, where we have what you call the triple bottom line. And what that means is what is good for profit, what is good for the planet, and what is good for the people. So in our co-op, the number one goal for our members is that their health and well-being. So, as part of the co-op, all the living expenses are covered, medical expenses, the membership to the club, CBD massages, yoga workshops, continuing education. So it's very important for us to, instead of having, 16 levels of management and CEOs that make, $1.2 million a year, what we want to do is make a good living, have a high quality of life, and then the price, make it affordable to more people. Now, when we were selling at 10 cents a milligram, our competitors were selling at 40 cents a milligram. Why could we do that? Because we weren't set up with that many layers to pay. I did not have to pay a CEO $1.2 million to be the CEO. And in addition to that, we used no money for advertising.
Wow.
Our advertising was, try this. Did it help you? Yes. Can you buy the next one? Yeah, I can buy my next jar, and I want to buy one for my mom, or I want to give one to my dentist, or this stuff works. So our first people that got introduced to our product, we didn't have cash. Now, if we had accepted an investor, which cooperatives can't accept investors, but as soon as you accept an investor, or in the traditional model, the more money you have, the more votes you have, you see? So then you get to wrangle the company. So what happened to many of the original growers of hemp and CBD is that they grew, and then they needed to do extraction, and then they got an investor. As soon as they got the investor who put the money in there, the investor said, I don't care that you're organic. I don't care that you do it this way. I don't care if the product is rotting. You need to dry it, and we need to put chemicals on it, and we need to sell it, because we now have investors that need to get paid. So we were never pressured by an external force to make money. We're able to keep our values in providing a crop for organic farmers to succeed and have a succession plan, and to drop the price down so that everybody who's doing it for greed can't compete.
Wow. And think about if every company operated in this fashion and everything was a co-op. I mean, the world would be a way better place, because all this corporate greed is, I think, ruining society. It's ruining the government, of course, in my opinion. And it's just messing things up because people screw others for money. I mean, that happened to me at a young age when I let a best friend at the time, borrow money to buy his car because he'd had bad credit. I'll pay you back, John. And guess what? I mean, he still owes me the money to this day. And it just sucks, you know? And what am I going to do? Now we're not best friends, and now, I mean, he did sleep with my ex-wife. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff happened too. But nonetheless, I mean, it's the integrity and the money motivation is too strong. It overpowers many people. So I really like your model, and would hope that you guys watching, if you guys are looking for a CBD product, support them so that they can continue this mission, get the products, and even help more farmers start. I mean, your organization is just doing amazing work. So
actually, we started as a worker cooperative, but our goal is to grow up to become a producers cooperative. So what we're looking for now is organic farmers in the state of Colorado that can all come together and help us move into the next level, which the extraction is super important, and it requires a lot of money to set it up. So really, the now what we want to do is play with other organic farmers. We have the genetics now. Our first year, as I explained, the genetics we had more THC than the legal limit, and so the second year of production, instead of growing the same thing, we did a genetic research project that had us grow out 10,000 seed, or excuse me, 6,000 seeds, of which, you know, half of them were male, another, you know, 25% were weak or we didn't like. But in that sorting, you know, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. You gotta bend every piece of hay to see if the needle's in there. So the genetics is super important, and it takes time. You can't, you know, you've got to wait one season. We found this seed. Oh, now you got to plant it. You got to wait the whole season. Keep 2 of those plants alive in vegetative mode. Take that one to the end of the season with full sun outside, and then get the result and see whether those mothers live, or you just get rid of them. So we found 1 in the first 6,000 seeds. So it's not that easy to find the right genetics. Let me go back once again. When you have a crop and the only people that are doing research are trying to bring the THC higher and higher because people wanted to get higher, right? Excuse the pun. Then all of a sudden, all the other cannabinoids got displaced. So if you find something in your dispensary and it's 24% THC, it's bound to have 0 of all the other ones that you talked about, because it displaces them. So literally, we self perpetuated the elimination of those endocannabinoids, and they've discovered over 80 of them, and here we know about 2. You know, and actually, Mashula, was able to identify THC like in 1960, and CBD was like in 1963. I mean, it's been a really long time. It's just that the stigma of, if you're doing hemp, then you are a drug addict, and you come from Central and South America, and you don't have respect towards the whites, and black men want to have, black and brown men want to have sex with white women, and that's the reason why you have to stop people from smoking marijuana from Mexico. Make up a word, create a craze, indoctrinate people, and then all of a sudden, it's like we have 2 generations, or even 3. It's been 75 years. More than 75. You have 3 generations that feel like it's a terrible drug. The other ones don't know, and then the other ones don't know either. I mean, there's just so much confusion. And so, like you said, education is key.
So once again, industrial hemp, not the same as a cannabis, or the marijuana, if you want to call it that gets you high. So what is the difference between, I like to think of the apple analogy, right? You got Granny Smith apples and you got, golden delicious apples. And what if only the green apples ever got you high and the red ones, you can eat all the ones you want and it never does anything to you. And that's kind of like it is, right? It's the same kind of, cannabis, but it's a different strain or variety. You want to try to explain that to people better?
Sure. Well, what we're looking at is in the 200,000 years that you see cannabis and seeds, and even in pictographs that it's being used as a plant. And obviously there were people migrating with seeds and putting them, because it's in all latitudes and longitudes. So it had lots and lots of uses. Now, my mother, who was born in 1930, tells me that her cough medicine had hemp in it, and there wasn't a word of marijuana. It was hemp, and so did the clothes and bags for rice, and so when you start to look at what affects brain function, and California, I think, is going in the right direction in that they're not calling marijuana or THC, they're not calling it psychoactive anymore, because it groups marijuana with cocaine, heroin, really bad things. But it's...
So what's the term now?
It's an intoxicant.
Oh, intoxicant. Wow.
Yeah,
Don't get intoxicated and drive any substance.
Exactly. So if a policeman comes with a gun and says they're on a psychoactive and we got to shoot them down because they're going crazy, that's a very different thing than the guy's kind of intoxicated. You need to go sleep it off. So, and if you look at how THC impairs the body, it's not you can still dribble a ball, you can still walk on a straight line. The reflexes are not changed. I mean, there are many athletes that perform really well with THC.
Wow.
But what does change is somewhat the perception of time. That does not impair. You might be going slower than everybody else. But you still know where the lines are. You still. So it's more of an intoxicant. Now, I know I was raised in Venezuela, and for us to smoke marijuana, do heroin, cocaine, and now, smack, crack, and whatever was the same. I mean, it was like if you smoked a joint, you'd end up, dead next to a toilet like a heroin addict. Now, that was clearly fabricated by government-sponsored indoctrination, So really, the greatest differences that you find between hemp or CBD and marijuana is that with the CBD you don't really get high in terms of being forgetful. But you being forgetful or not, getting hungry, the munchies, you don't get that effect. What I find with CBD is that it makes me more centered. I think that the plant affects the mind, body, spirit, and it calms me on some level, focuses me, and it makes me do what's good for me. And what I mean by that is Bill has a great story. His one of the founding members, there was a dispensary in New Mexico that wanted him to grow, and he said, "Look, I'm not interested in growing to make people high. I'm interested in this CBD." This was like 15 years ago. Nobody even knew what that was. The dispensary owner goes, "Well, what's that?" CBD, well, it's like pot, but it doesn't get you high. He said, "Well, that's so stupid, but go ahead, do your case study." So Bill starts growing Harlequin, which is the first identified CBD strain in the United States, and sees the difference in people's lives. They did not have an outlet where people came. He would deliver the CBD to the different households. And he was working with people with cancer, vets with PTSD. And he saw the change over time, going there, everything, the weeds were really high, stack of dishes that were dirty clothes everywhere. After 2 or 3 months, everything started getting better. He saw immediate effects with people having PTSD, and realized, wow, this is what I really want to do. I want to give this to people that need it for their health. And that's what moved him to want to grow CBD, because of the medicinal quality. So, when a doctor sees something like this, they go, oh, panacea, it can't be right. But when you start to understand the endocannabinoid system and realize that if you have a system of wellness, that it starts to communicate with all the systems of the body, your level of wellness goes up. So guess what? Your ability to think goes up. Your ability to sit and meditate and spiritually be more tranquil goes up. So he tells this story about a man who has severe diabetes. And every time his wife goes out of the house, he walks to the 7-Eleven and buys himself like Snickers bars. So Bill comes and he goes, how's it going? He goes, I hate you and I hate this stuff that you've been giving me. And he goes, why? He goes, because now I don't even feel like going and buying my peanut butter Snickers bar. I don't like how it tastes. I don't like how it makes me feel. So this stuff is making me behave better. And it's true. It's like when you don't feel like you're at an emergency, you have a little extra energy to go do something fun, get some exercise,
Cool. Yeah, I mean, it definitely took my health, in my opinion, to the next level when I started getting into, consuming more cannabinoids in my system. Even though I eat pretty clean already, it definitely took me to the next level. And it's something that I think more people should be able to experience. So I'm glad you make a product that is 50 state legal, to ship and to sell.
And you know that the real, we've been seeing CBD with very, very difficult medical circumstances, degenerative diseases, cancers, diabetes, head strokes. But I believe the real benefit of CBD is preventative medicine, because every cancer starts from one cell that went crazy bananas, started duplicating, creating strangeness, and the body didn't recognize it. The immune system was like, don't even know what that is, don't care. So if you're able to kill that first cancer cell, there is no crazy development, So I believe that, what we will see in the next 10 to 15 years is that it'll be in the background of everything, like aloe vera, vitamin C, something that we know that's already good, and it becomes the background of, shampoos, hair, clothing, everything you can think of. I mean, you can make plastics, you can do renewable biodiesel. The Mercedes-Benz that you saw at the farm runs on hemp oil.
That's cool.
Yeah, so really the future is magnificent. We have to look at it, for anybody, I believe, who's over 30 or 40, should be looking at having a daily dose and seeing how it affects. Now, we have a guarantee, the guarantee is use our product for, 20 to 30 days, twice a day, take a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening, and see how you feel. And if you don't feel any difference and you don't think it was worth the $80, we will return your money.
Wow, that's an amazing guarantee. All right, so somebody would be crazy not to buy your CBD product that I showed you guys how exactly it's made. You have full traceability. You're supporting an amazing society that's doing great work to help more farmers become more viable. You're helping them basically give free products out to people and empower people to get free products that they want to volunteer or even sell it themselves. If somebody's crazy enough not to buy your product because I'm recommending it, and they've seen the whole process, and they're trying to I'm going to save $5 and go to my health food store and buy some. What should somebody really look for? Because I know there's lots of scams, in my opinion, in the CBD industry, and people are jumping on the name, and people know the benefits, but it's very important to source a good quality, high quality product like you've seen today.
That's a great question. So the first thing you want to look at is to make sure that it has a lot number on it or somehow to identify that batch, okay? So on ours,
on yours, it's on the
little,
bottom.
it's that little green sticker.
Right.
So essentially what that means is...
And a use by date.
It has a use by date. So what we're looking at, that last 03, that's the batch that was made in 2018, the third batch. And so we have a lab test that verifies that there is 1,500 milligrams in that jar. So you want to be able to ask the company if they have a third-party lab report that says that it doesn't have THC in it and that it does have the milligrams in there. Then you want to ask a bunch of other questions. How is it grown? Where is it grown? If they can't tell you that, then they're probably not growing it, you know.
And that's a big red flag because I want you guys to support growers directly because there's so many middlemen selling CBD isolate from China and all over the world. And then you're thinking, oh, I'm getting this for $40, it's 1,000 milligrams, but it's an isolate product from China. But they don't tell you that, like, you know.
So they should be able to answer what chemovar they have, okay? So if you say, what's the name of your plant, and they can't tell you what the name of the plant, then obviously they either don't know, they don't care. So genetics are very important. How you grow it, where you grow it is very important. How you store it and how you either dry it and cure it or freeze it, whatever you do is very important. Now, in the marijuana world, which is all about money, they're trying to accelerate all the natural processes. So if they're drying it and then curing it, they might spray a chemical that does it faster. Okay, so how are they harvesting it? How are they drying it?
So if it's organic, then they shouldn't be spraying chemicals on their stuff after harvest. But if it's not organic, then you might want to be concerned about that.
Right, exactly. And then if you are buying a CBD product, how are they extracting it? So, of course, the cheapest is using petroleum products. Hexane, butane, that's how the marijuana world did it when they were pulling out the oils. That's what got passed on. Those things are toxic. You know, why would you put that as a piece of medicine? And then, so the extraction is very important. I believe that the best tasting is made through a still, very much like a whiskey still.
So it's an old-fashioned kind of method, like that they have a time in literally a prohibition. They had these stills, and you got a still that I couldn't show. We won't tell any more. It's highly modified.
No, but if you were to look it up, it would be, we do what's called a cryogenic pre-wash. And then we do a distillation with organic ethanol is the extraction. It makes our product, when we first started doing it like that, our own clients called our product gold because it has that tint of gold in it.
And I think a product should have color because that's a sign that it's like real, you know, it's like it's like there's blueberries in your blueberry muffin and you just see these like blue specks of artificial food color or something with other sugars.
Right, exactly. And then you want to look at the company. So the top CBD companies that are all Wall Street. Okay, so let's just back up. So if we were to say, okay, the chemovars of cannabis alive right now were kept alive by these courageous people that were willing to go to prison for you and I to get high with marijuana. These people kept it alive with Birkenstocks and putting pig shit in their backpack to fertilize their plants. They loved their plants. They slept next to their plants. They risked their lives for consumers of marijuana for recreational use. They are pioneers. They deserve to be honored, not put in jail. These people though, could only take us to a certain level. Imagine if for the last 80 years, right, you could go to the university and study cannabis and know how much we would know. So we have to honor those people for what they were able to do. The unfortunate thing is that as soon as they saw how much money was going to be in the legalization of marijuana, the first people that came in were, Russian and Las Vegas cartels, Wall Street, tobacco, and pharmaceutical companies, these huge mega companies. And so they came in and they created the CBD. So the ones, when you see these companies that have these web pages that are just full of fluff, can't really answer the questions, and then you see who the principal owners of that company are, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, the vice president, the president, the secretary, and the treasurer are ex-brokers of houses, and two of them are in jail for embezzlement. So
that's all made up. That's all made up. I don't know if anybody's really like that. But
No. There, if you look at projectcbd.org, it's a nonprofit. It does a lot of research. They have an article called Hemp Hustlers, and it talks about the biggest companies in CBD. They weren't farmers. They weren't the guys who went up looking, keeping the plants alive. They were into the money. So the greedy came first, and they created a ton of products that are pretty disgusting. I mean, 95% of the products out there, it's a broker. It's not a grower. And like you said, when you empower the farmer and it goes from farm to table, what you're doing is you're getting rid of all those middlemen, and it's a much more fair part of business. So think of it this way, and this is why we did the co-op and the way we did our distributor. When you sell wholesale, distributor, and then retail, you have these 3 tiers. You have to pay everybody. So in a carrot, you go to the market, you buy a carrot, it costs $1. That dollar is split up 95 cents to everybody in that chain, and then 5 cents to the farmer. In our model, farmer gets 80 cents, and 20% is what the marketing and everything else makes. So it's a lot fairer to the people that are doing the work in the field.
wow. And I mean, along those points about talking about big corporations, I mean, I really like your name here, Free Hemp. So it's like you're trying to free hemp from the tyranny on one level,
of
but
corporations and government. Corporations and government, exactly.
Took the words right out of my mouth, thank you. And also, you're giving away this product for free to some people. So you want to explain how you have a business model where you actually give free product away and you're trying to free it at the same time? I think that's amazing.
Essentially, it's simple. If you can come work on our farm, one day's work gives you a jar of CBD. If you want to help us distribute it, and you want to take a case on consignment, we give you a case of 12. You get 1 jar, and then as you sell it or use it, you send us the money. It's all honorary system. And then if you're, we call that the agents of change. So the way we distribute it was not on the shelves, because on the shelves we would have had to mark up our products about 60 or 70%, and it wouldn't be as cheap. So what we did is, you live in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So I give you a case of 12. When you use it, or if somebody buys it, you send us the money. I give you 1 for free. If you find somebody who really needs it and can't use it, I give you another 1 for free as a giveaway. So essentially, it generates the culture of giving. And if you
that's
notice,
something we need in our culture. Mr. Trump, please.
Exactly. The culture of giving. Now, most people, the first jar they got from our farm, they gave it to their mother. They gave it to their aunt. And so here you go, Mom, I'm going to give you this. How'd you get this? This costs $300. Well, I got it because I worked for one day at the farm. Okay, I'll try it. So really, you can, and then if you don't have money, we do 10% of production, not like the Ronald McDonald House, which is 1% of profits. But and actually the Ronald McDonald House does very good projects. But what I'm saying is the proportion of what we give is much higher, 10% of our production. So for every 1,000 jars, we have 100 to give away. And we've supported the efforts of Standing Rock. When Pine Ridge Reservation got flooded, we also sent it there. We sent it to vets, to people, single mothers, moms. And you look at, the main reason for bankruptcy in this country is medical costs. So here's a person who is sick and then can't work, and on top of it has been broken by the system, and they have no place to go. So often they would come, and if it was somebody that couldn't do outside work, they'd help us with the labeling. Some people help us by cooking, some people help us by talking to their friends about it. And so we created a network that's called Agents of Change. So a person that uses our product, is changed by our product, wants to change the lives of other people, then starts sharing the product. Now, when you prepay the box, you get 2 jars.
Oh, wow, cool.
And then if you come along and somebody says, I want to know how to, so mostly, somebody says, I want to know how to get it for free, and you show them how to be an AOC, I also give you a bottle.
Wow.
So I'm giving away bottles. It's a really fun job,
Yeah, you get to give away stuff.
You get away stuff. And then people
love free stuff. They love you so much.
I know, it's true. It's true.
That's cool. So, I think this concept is amazing. Once again, what if every business was like this? What if Walmart was like this? I don't know. They'd still be in business.
But what you see is that, people don't want to give away a little bit of their profit. And that's a problem. And so when you structure a business that profit is the only motive, that takes away from being able to take care of your people.
Yeah, what about helping other people?
Or helping the planet.
Right.
I mean, you need to be able, so, if you have a product, right, that isn't good for people, that isn't good for the environment, and that it does and that it doesn't create profit, you wouldn't do that product.
Right.
But the only question that businesses have asked is, will it make money? Now we're at a time where we have to ask, will it make money, will it help people, and will it help the planet? If the answer is no, that product does not belong on the shelf.
Wow. I mean, I think people wouldn't buy pretty much anything at the store these days if they had to be so scrutinous. But, I'll encourage you guys step by step. If you're looking for a CBD product, definitely support this company because they're doing the right thing instead of one of those big conglomerates. And even so, I really like how you create agents of change that go out there and help you basically get word of mouth, which is some of the best advertising money does not buy. That's another reason why you'll be able to, have this at such an affordable price for people. And then in addition, and I talked about this earlier, but you will sell them basically empty, non-labeled bottles so that people can literally start their own CBD distribution business, and you have the lowest minimum of any health food thing I've ever learned. You just gotta buy 12 empty, unlabeled bottles. You can slap your label on and then charge whatever you want for it. And if you could get it in your market, great, and they have a good product. So now you're basically creating like jobs. You're making jobs for people. Say, here's a cool example, right? Say there's a veteran. You give it for free. He uses it. It helps him with his pain, his whatever he's going on. And then he's like walking around. He's like a new man. And then people are asking him like, hey Harry, how come you're like a new man? Like, oh, I've been using this CBD. You want to buy some? And now he has a job because he found this. It helps him physically, but now it's also helping him monetarily to make a living. Exactly. Wow! And then that keeps continuing. Like, how much can we change the world with this stuff? Exactly. So you want to talk about your private label and how somebody can literally start their own CBD business, selling the best CBD, not like some BS that's from China. It's just going through, brokers and stuff.
Well, I have 2 really good examples. Thanks for so the first example is this company, Susie's CBD Drops. So a wonderful man by the name of Richard Squire came to me, and he would repeat this, so he's told this story before, but he had a problem with his back, got addicted to opiates. Oh, by the way, the one segment of the industry that every time that cannabis was going to be studied, every 10 years, people would say, we need to study cannabis, and then they would slam it down again. That hired the lawyers that would slam down any type of marijuana legislation was funded by the pharmaceutical companies. Now, the pharmaceutical companies wanted to keep CBD out of the healing world because in 1936 they started with opiates. And the opiates took over what the hemp market used to have for pain relief and inflammation. We see today what that deviation from the one plant that had brought us to here, what that problem is. So Richard Squire was addicted to opiates. He came to my farm because a curandera, or what do you call that? A medicine woman from a Native American tribe brought him to our farm and pointed right at me. Work with her. And I was standing in the driveway and I went, had no idea. He got the CBD, came back 3 months later and said, this stuff is incredible. I want to do a business with you. I'm going to make you a millionaire. He had been a millionaire in 2 other industries. Come and work with me. And I told him, I'm too busy. Find yourself a college student and do the business. So they actually started Susie's Pet Drops. Susie was his dog. He gave the CBD to the dog. The dog was better. He said, this is the market to go in. This is a private label. This is our oil made. So it's been tested on humans, but we didn't hurt any humans. Okay.
No humans were harmed in the production of this CBD oil.
Okay, so this is what I call my first incubator story, because we helped them with the product development, with what they said on the labels, and they used this as our oil straight up here, and then they started using it into their as an ingredient. So the first 2.5 years we existed through retail, through the AOC system. And then the next 2.5 years, our business has now taken off in terms of bulk for individual products, as well as private label. Now, I have some private labels that are much better than ours.
Better than yours? How do you make your products better?
And it's because this is one of our private labels that you can get through the online. So we never went to online because we were afraid of getting shut down, and because we were the farmers, we figured we couldn't take
too much to
risk.
lose. Yeah.
Too much to lose. So our payment method is checks or money orders, and we ship it out, and people just send us the stuff. But this company has a web page, and also I think their names are much better for their face oil, because it's called Fountain of Youth. Fountain of Youth.
I want to put that on.
Yeah.
I could be like 5 years younger. Instantly.
You're going to love it because it's got kikuyu oil.
Oh yeah, I love kikuyu oil.
He loves kikuyu oil.
From Hawaii, yeah.
And the ingredients here are organic. It's fabulous. And so this is our body cream with a much...
No.
Oh, sorry about that. No, this is the CBD oil. So they're actually putting a little pig on the back so that you know that it's coming from our farm. Yeah. And we want to associate with people that are putting out a good product and spreading it wherever they are. They're located in the Chicago area, and it's important, I think. Usually people come up with a good idea, and then they just want to say, well, it's my brand, and we're the only ones that can sell it, and nobody else can do this. We just want to get it out to the people, and we want to try to keep the price low, and we want to empower people to help others.
Wow. I mean, this is just like, it just blows my mind. Like, the Fat Pig Society is going to help you, start a business if you want to do that, become a farmer and make more money growing organically, helping people by distributing this amazing product that has a big potential to heal people, pets, and other creatures on the planet, and also heal the soil by growing organically.
Exactly.
Wow. Oh my God. Like, this is like every corporation needs to do this. So one of the big important issues for me to ask you while I have you on is about the processing and, making an isolate versus having something called a full spectrum, or, what's the different terms that people use that may try to confuse consumers, and how do you process, and what's your exact terminology you use for explaining how your CBD oil is made?
Well,
and your products are made.
It is a great question, because a lot of the information on CBD is misinformation, and it's a way to get people to spend a lot of money and using words and terms. So we use whole plant, which is we strip all the leaves and the flower into our oil. And the people that were making isolates, so when you look at our product, it's full spectrum, and that it has the full spectrum of all the cannabinoids as they exist in the plant. Less changed than if you have an isolate. When you have an isolate, what you're doing is stripping with a chemical all the things that aren't CBD, including THC. And then when they come up with the new term, which is now broad spectrum, not to be confused with full spectrum. Broad spectrum means, and when you ask them, they'll say, oh, it's isolate, but we take out the terpenes and then we add the terpenes back in. So I don't know if you know Tang, orange juice, where the astronauts went up in space and they took Tang. And at the time when I was a kid,
like back in the 70s.
Back in the 70s, everybody needed Tang, or it was better than orange juice. Well, it turns out that it was sugared water with orange now, and if you were to tell anybody right now Tang is the same as orange juice, they'd look at you like it's crazy. But if I said no, it's the same because it's broad spectrum, and I put pulp back into the Tang.
It still doesn't make it orange juice.
It doesn't make it orange juice, right? Okay.
Right.
So that whole conversation of what the words are used, you want to look for full spectrum, not broad spectrum. But the thing that says it all is whole plant, because in the whole plant you're taking everything, right? So with an isolate, typically what's happening is it's a waste stream from something else. They're making paper out of it, and it has a little bit of CBD, so then they strip the CBD off and concentrate it. So, many people might not, I think your audience would understand this very clearly, because your audience is more sophisticated, and they look at whole systems in terms of natural foods, But typically, look what we've done. Let's see, vitamin C, it's good for your immune system. So instead of eating oranges and berries and whatnot, they say, no, we're going to isolate it, and then we're going to chemically alter it and synthesize it, and then we're going to concentrate it, and then we're going to bind it into this pill, and this is the same as getting it from an orange. That's not the same. So why are they making it into an isolate? It's really costly. It's because they're taking off something that shouldn't be there to begin with.
Yeah, contamination or heavy metals, or who knows what. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. So, this is kind of like the analogy of I want you guys to eat a whole food diet, right? Based around real whole foods, like things that don't need a label because that's, a carrot. This is an apple, that's an egg, whatever. It's doesn't have to have they extract things from eggs. So sugar, sugar. Yeah. So sugar is a highly processed food product. As much as I like to drink sugarcane juice, which is literally the juice pressed from the sugarcane, it has a lot more than just the sugar. Actually, sugarcane juice is mostly water with very little sugar. And actually, talking about orange juice, sugarcane juice has less sugar than orange juice.
And it has all the minerals.
And it has all the minerals too. So that's what the kind of difference is. It's more of a whole food versus just a highly processed food that man with its greatest wisdom is thinking that is making it better, when in my opinion it's doing a disservice, because now you're actually getting less. And actually I felt scammed actually. So I was looking for a good CBD product in Las Vegas, and it's very hard to find a good CBD product, so I went to dispensary because I don't want just a full CBD product. I want a little bit of THC in there, trace amounts, because I believe that every cannabinoid can have benefits, but I don't want the THC in too high amounts. So I basically went to a dispensary, had to show my ID to get in. I was probably the exception, because I'm where's this high CBD stuff? I don't want to get high. and I found like a 20-to-1 extract. So I'm like, okay, cool, 21, which is 20 part CBD to 1 part THC.
Right.
And then I get it home and I read the label because it's all behind the counter. You can't really like read the label before you buy like at a health food store or something. And so I get it home and I'm reading it, and then it's basically a THC extract. And then they just added the CBD isolate. So I thought, oh my God, I got so scammed. But now knowing about your stuff, tasting it, it's amazing. Your quality is great. It's like, I'm just going to stick with this stuff now because I got scammed, and I'm trying to save you guys from getting scammed too. So buy it from somebody you could totally trust.
Well, we're happy to be here for you, and thanks for coming to the farm. Not everybody just calls me and says, hey, I'm coming over. But I see you're the type of person that when you saw what you got, you thought, due diligence. So you're doing due diligence for your people, and, the expense, the time, and your, your ability to hear what I'm saying and then be able to reiterate it to your people is magnificent. I'm so happy to be here. Would love to talk about whatever's next.
All right, cool. So we're coming to the end because I got to run. I haven't even eaten dinner, and it's like getting really late, unfortunately. So the second to last question is, what's a question I should have asked you that I didn't, and what would be the answer?
I think the question you should have asked me is, why am I in this? And I saw Bill Althouse, who had broken his back, getting more and more bent over, and he had devised a way of growing strawberries in towers hydroponically so that he could navigate the wheelchair that he knew that he was going to be in. And I watched him eat hot dogs and smoke cigarettes at the farmer's market, and he got straighter and stronger and younger.
And while still eating?
While still eating junk food. So I knew it had nothing to do with lifestyle, okay?
But don't do those things. It's not good for you.
Don't do those things. But I saw him, and I thought, I am the little girl that when I was little, I would pick up every rock to see what was under there. I'm very, very curious. So when I saw him doing that, I thought, hey, that's a concept which I picked up a long time ago, which I call it backpedaling. And it's that you begin to do practices, and like you were saying, the amount of information that we've given you is so huge that you might get paralyzed from it. But if you were to just do one thing consistently over time, that would make a difference. So here I see this guy who's looking younger, backpedaling. I'm using, natural foods, enzymes, wheatgrass, all this stuff. He's eating hot dogs and smoking cigarettes. So I said, what are you doing? He says CBD. And I go, well, what's CBD? He goes, it's pot that doesn't get you high. I go, well, that is the stupidest thing ever. Who would ever want that? That's
me? No, I don't want to get high. Because I'm already eating healthy, and then I'm like, let's make me healthier.
No, but at that point, I had lived in California and in New Mexico, and I've been a competitive athlete my whole life, and both of my knees have been bone on bone for the last 30 years. So painful. So I had a medical card, and I thought that the high was what took away the pain. And he said, here, try this. And he gave me the flower. And, of course, I put it in a drawer, never paid attention. And every time he saw me, did you try it? Did you try it? I was like, I'm not going to try that. The first time that I tried Harlequin, which is what he had, it was amazing. It was like the pain, the edge of every step went away. And I did not have all the bad effects of being high. I didn't lose my keys. I knew where my glasses were. I didn't get hungry. And I thought, this is truly amazing. And all of a sudden, it was like it woke me up. And I realized this is so much more powerful, and it has such incredible healing capacity. I had been involved in the natural health world for 35 years as a practitioner of Rolfing, or structural integration, soft tissue manipulation, and I had encountered many supplements, many different types of lifestyle, but not something that was so effective and that made me want to take care of myself better, go back to, my regimen of exercise, eat better. And so it was really something that supported my commitment to greater health. And if there's one thing that I've learned from being a health practitioner is that our commitment to our own health is intermittent, like on, off, on, off, on, off. So staying on that commitment is really important. And CBD has done that for me. Not only from the fact that I do think it helps restructure tissue, because when I got massages on my knees, they were excruciating, and now they're not. My massage therapist says this is different. And I also do believe that it's helped me become more sensitive to the things that are good for me and wanting to do them more. And the things that are bad for me going, I'm done with that. I don't want to do that anymore.
Wow, amazing. I mean, it's like a plant literally that just lifts us up. That's amazing. That makes you want to be better, a better person. And I've heard so many different testimonies. I'm not really going to get into any, but it's an amazing thing that you should try, because you have a money back guarantee, right?
Yep.
Wow. So I guess getting to the end of this episode, how can somebody contact you, get a hold of you guys to get some of the amazing products, to start their own business, or maybe they're a farmer and they want to learn more about how to be in that collective that you want to start one day? How would they contact you to do all that stuff?
Well, we have 2 Facebook pages. One is called Free Hemp, and another one's called Fat Pig Society. That's an easy way. You can also email us. We don't have the webpage yet. We're waiting for the legal regulations coming down from the government, the federal government, to become law. And you can email us, Gmail, fatpigsociety@gmail.com. If they tell us that they're part of your network, we'd like to offer them a very sweet deal.
So what if they don't use email? Do you have a phone and they could call you?
We do. You can call us, and I'll probably answer the phone. It's 970-325-6556.
All right, great. So should somebody email you or Facebook message you or call you?
Like you did.
I Facebook message because I don't do phones.
Oh yeah, that's right. Facebook message.
And then I texted. All right, so Facebook message works the best way to get some of these products, to learn more about the opportunities. Check out their Facebook. But honestly, there's more content in my video than I've ever seen about this organization. So I'm glad to be able to make this publicly available and to really check out my first and only to date hemp farm that is doing amazing work. I doubt that I'm going to find anybody doing, especially the business side, better, because you're giving back to the community, you're giving back to people, you're just making the world a better place and helping to elevate. We even talk about how you help with legislature and creating new laws to make it, basically better for hemp farmers and for everybody. So I think that's pretty much it, the end of this video. Hey, if you guys like this video on hemp, want more videos with me on hemp at the farm here, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, please be sure to share this video with other people on different, cannabis boards, hemp boards. Everybody should be knowing about how good quality hemp product is made, and they can see that in this video, as well as learn about some amazing products as well. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes. I've coming out every 3 to 4 or 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or we'll be learning on my channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 1,400 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel, dedicated to teach you guys and educating you guys about different unique crops such as hemp and such as other ones I've covered in the past, turmeric and ginger and all these different things, but also just teach you guys how to grow your own food at home. And all the things that I teach about growing food at home, guess what? Can be used for the hemp as well. Even though I don't grow hemp, right? You could drop in the system I use to grow some of the highest quality vegetables and hemp and fruits or other herbs in the world. So yeah, check my past episodes, they're a wealth of knowledge. So I guess with that, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time. Until then, remember, keep on growing.